Rome is not a city, it is a living, breathing memory. It does not begin at the Colosseum and end at the Vatican. No, Rome begins the moment you close your eyes and imagine eternity. This is a place where time folds in on itself, where the past is not buried, it walks beside you. In the hush between church bells and vespers, you can almost hear it. The cries of gladiators, the verses of poets, the whispers of emperors. The stones here are storytellers. Every step you take lands on thousands of years of passion, power, and poetry. Even the air carries weight of incense, of olive oil, of old Latin prayers. Rome is not built on land, it's built on layers of belief. Pagan gods beneath Christian saints, ancient forums beneath modern footsteps, dust and dreams holding hands. But perhaps the soul of Rome doesn't reside in its ruins or basilicas. Maybe, just maybe, it flows through something far more subtle, far more alive, its fountains. Because in Rome, water doesn't simply quench, it remembers, it mourns, it celebrates. It is in the fountains where Rome does not just survive, it sings. Fountain of the Four Rivers, Piazza Navona. Behold, Bernini's rebellion frozen in stone. The Fountain of the Four Rivers is not just sculpture, it's theater, prophecy, and power carved into marble. At its center rises an ancient Egyptian obelisk, like a dagger to the sky, piercing time, declaring the triumph of Christianity over pagan roots. Surrounding it, four giants wrestle with the weight of the world. Each one a god, each one a river, each one a continent. To the west, the Rio de la Plata, arms flung in panic, recoiling from the unknown riches and dangers of the New World. Coins shimmer at his feet, but fear is in his face. To the north, the Danube, proud and poised, representing Europe's legacy. His hand touches the papal coat of arms, Rome's closest river, acknowledging its throne. To the east, the Ganges, calm and wise, cradling an oar, for his waters are sacred, endless, and carry the prayers of millions through India. And to the south, the Nile, his face mysteriously veiled. Because in Bernini's time, its source was still unknown, lost in the heart of Africa. Mystery, sculpted into flesh. These are not just river gods, they are continents colliding, chaos harmonized. Their twisted postures, their expressions of strain and grace, they speak of how the world bends beneath the weight of belief. And yet, there is balance, movement in stillness, water crashing around them, washing over centuries of ambition, art, and empire. Bernini didn't just build a fountain, he built a conversation, a clash of worlds tamed only by water's flow. Here, marble breathes, time listens, and Rome watches. Trevi Fountain, the heartbeat of Rome. It begins not with a roar, but a whisper, water murmuring like distant memories. Turn a corner in Rome, and suddenly there it is. Not a glimpse, not a hint. Trevi doesn't arrive gently, she erupts. A fountain so bold, so alive, she doesn't wait to be discovered, she demands to be felt. Bathed in golden light, especially at night, the Fontana di Trevi doesn't simply shine. She glows from within, like Rome's own heartbeat breaking through stone and water. The largest Baroque fountain in the city, Trevi stands not just as a masterpiece of art, but as an emotional crescendo in the eternal song of Rome. Built at the end of an ancient Roman aqueduct, the Aqua Virgo, first commissioned in 19 BC, Trevi's waters have flowed for over 2,000 years. Imagine that. The same water that dances today once quenched the thirst of Caesar's soldiers and soothed the brows of emperors. In Trevi, history doesn't just live, it flows. You see Neptune there at the center, god of the sea, majestic, commanding, riding a chariot shaped like a shell, drawn by two seahorses. One is wild, rearing up in defiance. The other is calm, obedient. Between them lies the balance of nature, Rome's duality, chaos and control, passion and poise. Tritons blow their conch shells as if to herald the ocean's arrival in the city's heart. Water cascades around them, not in trickles, but in waves, thunderous, alive, unstoppable. But Trevi is more than mythology, more than marble. She is memory, she is longing, and above all, she is ritual. Every day, hundreds, sometimes thousands, gather at her edge, drawn by something they can't quite explain. They reach into pockets, into purses, sometimes into the bottom of a worn backpack. They take a coin, close their eyes, and throw it with their right hand over their left shoulder. 1 coin means you'll return to Rome. 2 means you'll find love. 3, perhaps a marriage. But what matters isn't the rule, it's the hope. In that small, quiet motion, a wish is born. 1 coin, 1 prayer. Every splash is a dream meeting water. What they don't tell you is that these coins, over 1.5 million euros every year, are collected and used to support the city's poorest, feeding the hungry and sheltering the vulnerable. So even in wishing, Trevi gives back. She doesn't just grant dreams, she sustains lives. Even that, stand there long enough and you'll see every kind of person. The newlywed, clinging to each other like the city might steal their moment. The elderly man, alone, smiling at a past only he knows. The child tossing her first coin, believing not in myth, but in magic. The backpacker, worn by the road, whispering a wish too fragile to say aloud. In those moments, the Trevi Fountain becomes more than stone. She becomes a mirror for longing, for love, for something eternal. Architect Nicola Salvi began her in 1732, and though he died before her completion, Giuseppe Panini brought her to life in 1762. Her Baroque style is no accident. It's expressive, theatrical, alive. Every sculpture has movement, every figure a story. Look closely and you'll see allegories carved into every edge. Abundance, health, taming of nature. The backdrop, once the palace of the Dukes of Poli, now frames the scene like a grand stage. Because make no mistake, Trevi is theater, but it is also silence. If you arrive at dawn when Rome is still asleep and the pigeons are the only companions, Trevi becomes something else, something sacred. You'll hear the water without interruption, see the marble without crowd, and you'll feel, more than anything, that you've stepped into the lungs of the city, as though Rome is exhaling through her, gently, rhythmically, endlessly. Even Hollywood fell under her spell. In La Dolce Vita, Fellini made her immortal. Anita Ekberg, stepping into the fountain's waters, arms outstretched, became an icon. But what the scene captured wasn't just glamour, it was surrender. Surrender to beauty, to romance, to the feeling of Rome. Impossible to explain, but impossible to forget. And that's what Trevi offers, not just a view, but a feeling. A moment when the city stops pretending to be a place and reveals itself as a soul. That's why people return, not just because the coin promised it, but because their heart never left. At night, when the lights bathe her in soft gold and the crowds thin to a hush, Trevi becomes even more breathtaking. The roar of the water becomes a lullaby. You can sit for hours and feel the city's pulse slow to match your own. She doesn't ask for your attention, she earns it. Not with grandeur, but with grace. And in her waters, lit from below like dreams underwater, you'll see reflections, not of yourself, but of everything you've hoped for, everything you've lost, everything you wish you could hold again. Trevi isn't just a fountain, she's a farewell and a welcome, a beginning and a return, a sculpture and a sanctuary. She's the heartbeat of Rome, steady, eternal, and always, always calling you home. Fountain dell'Adriatico. Not all monuments shout. Some, they whisper. Tucked quietly beneath the grandeur of the Altare della Patria, Italy's towering altar to unity and sacrifice, rests a fountain so modest many pass it by without ever truly seeing it. This is the Fountain dell'Adriatico, a tribute not to a man nor a war, but to a sea, one that has carried more stories than any single pen could write. It is the Adriatic Sea, calm and composed, cradling the eastern shores of Italy like an ancient lullaby. A sea that has seen ships of Roman legions and Venetian merchants, of refugees, pilgrims, poets, and dreamers. And here in this fountain, that memory is not just honored, it is felt. The marble curves are soft, the water's movement unhurried, like a mother's breath. There is no violence here, no conquest, only quiet resilience. This fountain is not meant to dazzle. It's meant to remember, to reflect, to rest. It reminds us that not all journeys are loud, that some of the most important tides in history move in silence. steady, unseen, but undeniable. And so the Fountain dell'Adriatico continues to flow, beneath the grandeur, behind the noise, offering something rare in a city of spectacle, peace. Fontana del Moro. The Fontana del Moro, or Moro Fountain, is one of the three magnificent fountains in the heart of Rome's Piazza Navona. Its story begins in the late 1500s, when Pope Gregory XIII asked architect Giacomo della Porta to design a beautiful fountain using water from the ancient Aqua Vergine aqueduct. At first, it had a simple but elegant rose-colored marble basin decorated with sea creatures like tritons and dolphins. However, it lacked a central statue and mainly served as a water source for the public. Fast forward to the mid-1600s, Pope Innocent X wanted to upgrade the square's look and hired the great Baroque sculptor Gian Lorenzo Bernini. Bernini envisioned something bold and full of movement. He designed a statue of a strong, twisting figure, known as the Moor, standing in a shell, wrestling with a dolphin. This dynamic centerpiece was sculpted by Giovanni Antonio Mari in 1654, turning the fountain into a true piece of theatrical art. In 1874, the original statues were replaced with replicas to protect them, and the originals were moved to the Borghese Gallery. The fountain was damaged by vandals in 2011, but was carefully restored. Today, the Fontana del Moro still stuns visitors with its dramatic energy and serves as a lasting symbol of Rome's artistic legacy. It's not just a fountain, it's a story carved in stone, echoing the power and passion of Baroque Rome. So, as the sun sets over Rome and the last rays gild the rooftops in gold, we walk away not from a city, but from a living symphony of stone and water. We've stood before the mighty gods of the Fountain of the Four Rivers, where continents clash and converge beneath an ancient obelisk. We've whispered wishes into the heart of Trevi, where dreams sink like coins into eternity. We've laughed with the Fountain of the Moor, the charming rebel of Piazza Navona, caught mid-dance in a marble masquerade. And we've paused in silence at the Fountain dell'Adriatico, where the sea once carried soldiers, stories, and souls. Each one, so different, so alive, yet flowing from the same eternal spring, Rome's boundless spirit. Because here, fountains don't just decorate, they speak, they remember, they reflect who we are and who we hope to be. And maybe, just maybe, if you listen closely as you walk away, one drop, one ripple, will whisper your name back to you. Because in Rome, even the water never forgets.